So the next bit is our Deep Clean Intense Shampoo. This shampoo is solely for back bar for stylist use. This is what you're going to use to prep the client's hair before you do the extension application. I like to do 2 to 3 times to really scrub it and get that hair clean. And it's going to be the perfect, like, get any buildup, any oils, any extras out of their hair, so they're going to have the best results with the extensions. Hot Heads also makes 2 different boar bristle hair brushes. These are phenomenal for your clients to have. This is what I mentioned earlier that I put in that little client kit with the shampoo and the conditioner. I include the pockets, or excuse me, yes, the pocket size boar hairbrush. It's going to be the smaller one. There is a normal size one as well. These are phenomenal for the clients to have. It will help when brushing their hair. It will help drag the oils from their natural hair down into the extensions, giving them a little more shine. Also, you do want to encourage the clients to brush their hair multiple times a day. So by having that pocket size brush, it's a great one to be able for women to throw in their purses so they can pull it out and brush their hair several times a day and work through those tangles that will naturally happen. Next we have our Remove. This is our Remove solvent. This is a 99.9% medical grade, or excuse me, 99.9% alcohol. This, a little of this goes a long way. I'm going to go into the removal process a little bit later, right after we do our demonstration on our mannequin head. However, all you need with the Remove solvent is 2 sprays up in the corner of the natural hair, letting that drip down into that medical grade tape. The 2 combined, it will just loosen it enough. You can get your nail right in there and peel it apart. We also have something called our liquid adhesive. I actually had to use this the other day because I put an extension in a place that I didn't love, and it was a little bit iffy, but because I hadn't clamped it closed tightly just yet, I was able to pick it apart. But just to be sure, I took a little bit of our liquid adhesive and just did a dab in each corner. That's all you need to be able to re-adhere the tape together. So that way I wasn't losing that extension. Hot Heads has also come out with something called Recover. I actually had a client a little bit ago. She is an avid Maui goer. She called me up. We had put in some new blonder extensions. She called me up and she said, my extensions are turning pink. And I actually hadn't heard of this yet. I hadn't experienced this. Living in the Northwest, we don't have to deal with sun elements a lot. What this is actually is, it is caused by a chemical reaction, mainly from sunscreen and tanning lotions and oils. With the blonde, it shows up on the blonde hair the most. So that's what she was experiencing. Being in Maui, she was putting on tons of sunscreen and the ends of her hair were turning literally a salmon pink. So I reached out to Hot Heads. They let me know about their Recover. This is amazing. You need, I take a color bowl, fill it with water, and put a 1/4 of this package in there. And then I just apply it to the pieces that need it. Let it soak for about 15 minutes. You'll start noticing a change in the hair. Depending on the depth of the pink tone, you might need it to sit for a little longer. You should not ever need it to sit more than an hour. I've noticed all changes within I'd say 30 minutes max. So Recover is a great solution for that. Our tape tabs. So our tape tabs, Hot Heads has made it so easy for us as stylists. You literally order the size tape tab for what you're doing. So normal tape tabs, 60 come in a pack, or we have the micro tape tabs, 60 come in a pack. We also have the single-sided tape, all to say all our tape tabs fit perfectly to our extensions, and they are cut exactly as they should be. They have the, as you can see, let me pull out some. As you can see, they have the rounded corners on them. That is also going to give the best seal when matched up with another tape tab. With the tape tabs and with the extensions, in the past, people were cutting them, making them smaller, short, whatever they were doing, they were altering them, and that isn't that is not suggested at all. The way these are designed are foolproof for them to be successful. So if you stick with these rules essentially that we are teaching you, not cutting them, not altering them at all, not touching the tape tabs as much, you will have the best success with your clients. Okay, so next everyone wants to know about pricing. Pricing is pretty personal. What I like to suggest, well, first off, you should be making at least a $350 profit per extension client. Now, it is different for different areas, different salons. So if you're in a commission salon, definitely speak with your owner about setting prices accordingly. You can talk to your distributor. You can call around to different salons in your area and see what they're charging, and definitely market yourself within your comfortable parameters within your area. Marketing is also something that is going to help boost your revenue. Just getting yourself out there, putting it out. Taking a class, this is marketing for you guys. Clients love when I have taken a class and I'm talking about it, I'm excited about it, they get excited about it. I mean, more often than not, you leave a class and you are jazzed, you're ready to go, you want to hit the ground running. Clients feel that, they notice that. That's marketing in themselves, because that's going to put a bug in their ear, like, oh yeah, they're going to talk with other people and be like, oh, my stylist, she's always in advanced classes, she's always doing the newest, latest, and greatest. Another way is use hotheads. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, hashtag us, tag us. Hotheads is amazing at showcasing stylist work. So they're gonna help promote you. It's really beneficial to use them as much as possible. And it will, like I said, only benefit yourself. Also, as I mentioned earlier, furthering your education. This is a phenomenal start. I heavily encourage you to try our advanced classes. There's the 360 Advanced Pro Creative Color, as well as there is the Corrective Cutting class, all geared towards extensions. They're going to help go further into social media. They're going to help go further into your business building and your marketing and your extension services. So they're just kind of the next steps up in your career path with extensions. Okay, so that is our product overview. That is our wet line. That is our kind of pricing info. Next, we're going to go into the client consultation. With the client consultation, I always like to have my coloring out. I want them to hold it, touch it, feel it. I want them to look at the colors, really start getting excited about it. And I start by color matching. So today we have our friend Zoe. She is pretty close to a level 5. That's actually what extensions I've got on hand. So we are going to say she's going with a level 5, which actually she is very close. Another trick I like to do personally is I like to typically on a client, say Zoe comes in and we're going to do a level 5 on her. Often I will take the next level darker or lighter and pair those together. So just to give you an example of what that looks like. So here's a level 5. Actually, let me just grab these. These are our level 5. So you can see the difference with a level 6 next to them. There's not much difference, which is what I'm looking for. Because when you sandwich these together and put them in someone's hair, it's gonna give them a natural dimension. It's gonna give them a natural movement, a little bit of a sun-kissed look, and or sometimes, depending, maybe it's winter and I want a little depth in their hair, I could take the level 4, again, not that much difference, but yet it's darker. So therefore I can add a depth to their hair and giving that multi-tonal look within just a shade of each other. So that's another thing I personally like to do, something to keep in mind. Okay, so now that we have found the color we want, I want to talk to Zoe about the length we're looking for. Zoe and I were looking, she wants to definitely add some length and she wants some volume. So with her, the 10 to 12 would have given her about maybe an inch extra. But because she's really looking for length, we're going to go with the 14/16 to give her that extra length, but still fill in what she's got. Next in the consultation, I like to start the conversation of home care and what that's going to look like moving forward. I present her little goodie bag of her shampoo, conditioner, and her brush. I talk to her about the importance of using that. I talk to her about not having too much oil, ethanol, or alcohol-based products that would on the tape tabs, because that will break them down. So with any conditioning element, focus on the mid shaft to ends and rinse really, really well. Sometimes clients get slipping. That is also caused by either maybe their lifestyle, maybe they're heavy sweaters, maybe they're in spin classes or what. Or I have a client who's a horseback rider. She gets a lot of slippage due to the helmet sitting on her extension tabs and the sweat constantly in there. She tries to compensate that a lot with over conditioning. She knows that. We're trying to teach her to be better at rinsing, maybe not use as much conditioner towards the root. Sometimes they'll get itchy scalp. If that's the case, often that's because they're not rinsing something enough, or maybe that as the hairdresser, that's a note for yourself that maybe you put them a little too tight, which is also possible. Down the road, if they notice dull and brittle hair, let them know that, especially for my blondes, I always let them know that the purple shampoo causes that dull and brittleness. Dry shampoo also causes that. A good solution would be to periodically do that water and a hydrate conditioning mask mixture. Spray that on your ends and give it a little more life, a little more vibrancy again. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the demo. Move. Try to adjust so everybody can see. Let's see. Okay. So like I was mentioning earlier, all you're going to need is two things. You're going to need a rat tail comb, or if you have the kit already, or if you purchased the Hot Heads brush, this little extension brush. This is a phenomenal tool, and your clips. I have already pre-cleansed Zoe, so I used our deep intensive shampoo, and I also have pre-flat ironed her. That's going to give a nice straight hair to work with, as well as, because the extensions are straight, they're going to lay a lot nicer. So as far as sectioning goes, I'm going to talk with Zoe about her natural part, where she likes to part it. She told me she likes to part it a little off, right about here. So by starting with that, we're going to draw a line from the top of her head down, just right back behind her ear. More so right on top of her ear. And I'm going to clip that out of the way. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Going right to the top of that ear. Most of you might know this, but a fun little trick is if you put your finger where you want your comb to go, you'll naturally just draw a line right to that. Get those nice clean parts. When doing this, I do like to stress keeping everything clean. Very clean sections, clean parting. Okay, so we are going to start in the back. Now, one thing that Zoe did tell me is that she is an avid soccer player. Therefore, she puts her hair in a ponytail a lot. Keeping that in mind, I don't want to put my first row too low. Actually, real quick, while I'm starting this demonstration, if everyone looks in your training manual on page 9, you're actually going to see the layout of what I'm going to do, the rows and how we teach them initially. This is a great one to kind of ingrain into your mind as a great base for how to lay the extensions in. Obviously, everyone's hair is a little different. Depending on what you guys have spoke through and talked about, you might change things a little bit, but this is essentially just the basic way of doing everyone's hair. So it's a good one to really know. Okay, so now that we're all sectioned, I'm gonna have my client look down. I go about an inch, I start about 1.5 inches away from the hairline. With Zoe, I want to definitely do that because, like I said, she's a soccer player. She wears her hair in a ponytail. I really want to make sure when her hair's in a ponytail, it's not going to be seen. So here's a phenomenal trick. And it's nice that this tool is silver because it will show more. So wherever I've sectioned, actually let me move back a little bit. Where I have sectioned, I'm going to put my comb right at that part line. I'm going to lift up the hair and see if I can see any of that silver. If I can see any of the silver, most likely you're going to see a little bit of that tape tab. So I can't, so I'm going to get started. Now the process with putting in these extensions, we at Hotheads call it the A-OK. So I want everyone to do this. This is going to be your finger placement. This is what you're going to do. That's it. So I'm going to start over here on the left side. And I'm going to be mindful about going in about, let's see, with Zoe, I'm going to do about a little more than 1/2 inch from the hairline. Because again, she's that soccer player. She wears her hair back in a ponytail. I don't want it to show. So I'm going to take my section. You want to make sure your sections are no thicker than the actual extensions themselves. So if you look at the extension and see the thickness, that is going to be your guide. So doing my A-OK, I'm going to pinch the hair with my pointer finger and my middle finger, and I'm going to roll it up. My pinky is going to stay on the scalp. I'm going to take my first extension. That'll come off. Little trick again, we don't want to hold the tape tab because we do not want to break down that adhesive. So think of it like a remote. I'm going to hold it like so with my thumb in the middle. So when I can place it, I can guide it under my hair sectioning on the scalp, and I'm still not touching that tape tab, but I have a good hold of my extension. So I've got the hair between my can you see that? There we go. I've got my hair between my pointer finger and my middle finger. My pinky is right on the scalp, and I'm rolling the hair back. I'm gonna put my tape tab right under that section and just drop it a smidge till I see the start of those little hairs right under, and I'm going to roll it down, pushing with my pinky. You don't need to push hard, I'm just smoothing. I'm going to take the end of my comb and swipe just the sides to make sure if there's any traveling hairs that have decided to come over are not there. Once I like the placement of that, I'm going to get my next extension. These do not want to come off. Again, holding it like a remote, shiny tape side down this time. And I'm going to go in there, smooth any little flyaways away. And I'm going to match exactly where those corners are, lay it right on top. Once I like where it's laying on top, then I'm going to go in and squish it together. Give it a good pinch right in those corners. Okay, now, as you can see, Zoe does not have a lot of hair on her nape. So I'm going to, I can use this little tape piece, this paper that came off the tape tab, and I can use it as a guide to see and measure. So right now, I'm too close to the hairline for Zoe being comfortable putting it in a ponytail. So I have a couple options. I can either leave it and keep building on my next rows, or I can maybe think about using a micro there. But for today's class, and we're gonna be focusing on that basic pattern on page 9, so I'm gonna leave it. And I'm gonna move to my next one. But ideally, I would have 2 originals down at that bottom. So I'm gonna go about, a 1/2 inch above that last row. I might actually make it a little closer now that I'm thinking about it, just because that first row only has 1 extension in it, and I do want to build that perimeter line. So I am going to go a little closer. Again, these are where you get to be really creative as the stylist and figure out what's going to lay best for your client. Think through like, okay, if I put them together, they're going to give me a better base. Once I have a better base, everything is going to flow. Now, because I started on the left side, we are going to do a snake pattern when doing each row. So if you start on the left and end on the right, the next row you're going to start on the right, end on the left. That's naturally going to give you a brick lay, which will help the hair blend much, much softer and nicer. So again, making sure my sections are nice and clean. I'm starting about a 1/2 inch away from the hairline, making sure my section is about as thick as a extension piece and no thicker. Gonna get my extension for that bottom section. It does not want to come off again. Hold it like that remote, not touching that glue at all. I'm going to pinch that hair between my middle and my pointer finger. I'm going to lay that extension right underneath and drop it just a tad and just roll that section down. Taking my comb and swiping those corners. You definitely want to be mindful of those stray hairs coming in. Those, if they're caught in there, can definitely pull and hurt. That's why I like to really assess my extension before I place this on, because if I only have the bottom on there, I'm not solely locked to that position. It's easier to move it around. So I come back in and I completely measure those corners right up. Once I'm confident in that placement, I pinch it down, and that is it. There is absolutely no heat necessary. My next one, I'm going to go right next to that extension and do it on the next side. So ideally in this row, I would have liked to have had 3 extensions, again, following that pattern on page 9. So ideally we would have 3. But again, we're working with Zoe, who has a little bit smaller of a head frame than that pattern was designed for, which that is fine. That's where we, the stylists, are gonna work with what we've got and accommodate their head shape. So again, I'm gonna assess, I'm gonna scrape both the sides. Once I'm confident in the placement, I'm gonna pinch it down. So as you can see, we're starting to really build that perimeter line. So this next one, I'm sectioning right close to above the ears. This is about a 1/2 inch away from that last row. Again, you're going to assess each client. With Zoe here, her hairline is very narrow. So again, we're not getting as many in on those lower rows. So I am going to put these just a tad closer than I normally would, but we really want to build that perimeter line. So again, I started on the right side, so this time I'm starting on my left. I'm going to go about a ½ inch from that hairline, especially because we're right by that ear point. She's a ponytail wearer. We want to make sure in that ponytail nothing is going to be seen. I get my section. I have a few stray hairs. I'm going to clean those out. I'm going to do my A-OK. Get my extension, hold it like a remote, pop it right under, drop it just a tad, and roll it down. Swiping those corners, making sure nothing is dragging over. I'm going to keep repeating this because honestly, when you're doing them, and you hear me saying that over and over and over, and you have a happy client leave, you can also hear me say, "You're welcome." Okay, so now you can see our perimeter line is really starting to build. Okay, I'm gonna get that next one in again, making sure you've got clean sectioning. Taking that section as wide, no wider than that extension piece. Roll it up. Pop that extension right under, drop it just a tad. We're just wanting to see the start of the next little hairline, those little follicles. We're not dropping it a ton. But you do want to give a little wiggle room on those roots. Once I'm confident with the placement, I'm going to pinch it in there. Now you can see on Zoe, we're really getting that hairline going. Or excuse me, that perimeter line. So this last one's actually going to be perfect. It's still giving me just about a ½ inch from that hairline. Again, being that ponytail wearer, we want to really keep that in mind for her, setting her up for success when she's not in your chair. Hold it like a remote. We're going to pinch it between our pointer and our middle finger, doing that A-OK. Roll it down. Do a little swipe. We're really focusing on matching up those corners. You want them exact as you could possibly be. If they don't match up, take the time to take them apart. Otherwise, honestly, they will peel apart themselves. It's just such less work to do it right when you're putting them in the hair versus trying to go back and fix that. Okay, so you can see our perimeter is really starting to build. It's giving her that beautiful extra length she was looking for. We're gonna keep going up. Getting a little knotted. Yeah, I'm going to do one more row before I start incorporating that front. Okay, so that last one, we finished on the right side. That means we're going to start on the right side, heading back to the left. Really focusing in. Now we're around that thin hairline that's right here by the ear. So we really want to be mindful again, going in about, whoop, excuse me, going in about 1/2 inch. Another trick is, especially right where that extension would start, hold your comb right there, pull that hair around the ear over and make sure you can't see through. And then if you can't, you know you're in a good placement. Do a little swipe. Okay, we're really checking those corners, popping that on, squishing it down. Clean sections is a must. It will save your life as a stylist, make things a lot easier for you, both with the application process and the removal. Now I'm not taking sections any bigger than the tape tab. We're matching the width, we're matching the density, so we're really following, this is our guideline. Doing the A-OK, dropping it down. Again, being mindful to not touch that tape. So I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. The other day, I actually was doing a set of extensions and dropped one of the extensions, and when I snagged it and reached down to, try to grab it as it was falling, I completely grabbed the tape side. So therefore it stuck to my hand. It just made me a little hesitant that I, touched it too much. So I just put a little of that liquid adhesive right on those corners. Maybe it was for my own peace of mind. Maybe that was what I needed to do. I didn't want to risk it. So I just went ahead and put a little bit of that adhesive right on there just to strengthen it up again. It isn't necessary unless you have, a situation like that where you're thinking you need to. But otherwise, you really should never alter it. They're ready to go. They're good to go. Again, I'm in an awkward length sectioning right here. I'm going to measure it up. I'm going to double. It might be able to, but it's looking like it's going to be pretty close. But it looks good. I'm going to do it. As you've noticed, as I'm doing this, I am following the hair growth. I am not doing anything in any other direction than how her hair is growing. There's no need to angle them towards the face. There's no need to angle them any direction other than horizontally. Okay, we have the back done. All right, I also want you to notice where I'm at. I'm getting close to this top section. A lot of people have cowlicks, whorls right here in this back section. You really, really, really want to be mindful of that and make sure that if they've got one that drops low, you are not bringing your tape tabs. You treat that like a part. Because if you put a tape tab right at the base of where that cowlick ends, it's going to show and they're going to be not happy. So next we're going to go right into the sides. Come on, Zoe. As you can see on your page 9, we're going to start with 2 micros. And that first extension, because it's right on the hairline, I am going to put an ultimate on top. So we want to be mindful of the ear. So I'm going to go about 1 inch above the ear. Now do our little trick. Put your comb right on that part line, pull it up. If you can see it at all, then you need to go a little higher. If not, you are golden. So now with the micros, you can definitely go a little closer to that root line because they are so little. Oops. We'll tighten Zoe up here a minute. She's flopping like a fish out of water. Okay, so we're still gonna do everything the same. We're gonna do an A-OK, roll it up, pop one of these micros, right at that hairline and roll it down. I'm still gonna go through, swipe, make sure nothing is over directing. And then I'm gonna top it off with a micro. Matching up those corners. Give it a good pinch. There we go. I'm gonna do one more. These micros really are so awesome, you guys, for this front hairline. With a few of my clients that come in for full sets that we do pop in some micros, I have them timed at every 8 weeks. That way, every 4, they come in and we just switch out these front guys, and every 8, we switch out everything. So their timing works together. Okay, so now I'm going to do my next section. My first one, because this is close to the hairline, I'm going to put a ultimate on top of my original. Now, if anyone remembers why I said we would only pair them with originals, to repeat what I mentioned earlier, is because underneath you are not going to see them. So it's not necessary. And really measure up that tape right exactly. All right, so now that I'm getting farther away from the hairline, I'm not gonna do any more ultimates. Because you won't see them. So we're going to save those for the spots that you will see. So now we're just going to be using our originals. Same process. Swipe my corners. While I'm finishing this row up, obviously if you guys have any questions, please stop me and ask. But while I'm kind of working on these last few rows, I'd love to talk to you guys about some really cool things that Hotheads is a part of. One of the things we are a part of is called Heart for India. I did learn that we purchase the hair from India from a temple. And the money that is raised from the hair, it's actually donated in a, for them, it's a religious give. It's a very big deal for them to do this, a good deal for them to do this. It's not out of torture of any sort, or, I mean, they give it freely to the temple, and the temple actually sells it to help keep funding the temples. So Hotheads buys it from there. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's all the Remy hair, so it's all cuticle intact, 100% human hair, all going the same, all the cuticles are going the same direction. Real quick, I'm going to stop myself. I did notice I want to ping pong back and forth. I apologize. I got into talking for Heart for India, which I'd love to get back to because I think it's so neat. But I do want to ping pong back and forth. So I'm going to stop that row where I'm at, and I'm going to come to the other side because I want to make sure my sides match up. So I'm going to go about an inch up like I did on the other side. I still, because all of our hair is not perfectly symmetrical, but we're going to go about in the same zone, but nonetheless I still want to do my comb check. We're going to start off with those little micros. Okay, drop it down just a tad, roll that down. Once you're loving the placement, let's go ahead and give that swipe. Pop that one right on top. We're back in business. Okay, second micro, right next to that, and these I'm putting right next to each other. Okay, got that one down. Do a little swipe. Put this micro right on top. Now, because I did that ultimate on that other side, because we're getting close to this hairline, we're going to go ahead and do it on this side. So again, we're going to put we're going to put the original underneath and the ultimate right on top. Okay, so Heart for India, back at it. Just to repeat real quick, I'm doing this ultimate right on top. Heart for India also gives funding back to India to help underprivileged children gain access to education. It also helps train women in professional skills and get their diploma. So it's pretty awesome, and that's all something that you can go on the Hotheads page and read more about. It's really, really an awesome thing. All right, here we go. I'm getting my last section on this row. Okay, and again, we're back to all originals because we're far enough away from that hairline that ultimates will not show. We're matching up those corners. Once I'm confident on that, I'm going to pinch it down. Okay, so with her cowlicks, this will most likely be our last row. So again, following that format on page 9, we're going to do, let's give her 3, let's see, why is this twisting? It's always trying to get away from me, everyone. There we go. Okay, so We're going to do these side sections. This one I'm being very mindful of where she naturally parts to in proximity to where I'm going to put those last extensions. We are about almost 2 inches away from that part, probably a little less, but between 1.5 inches and 2 inches. Right now I can't see my comb at all. I'm kind of wiggling it around to really make sure. So I'm okay putting it there. We're getting right up close to that hairline with these micros. Obviously you're not right on the hairline. I do love to give just, you know, a smidge of distance. Feel free to come up and look and see where I have placed these. It's probably the width of a pen. The micros are so small that they're a little more forgiving. Okay. Go on to our next one, and just like that sectioning, we're going to do 3 micros. And on this row, because this is our top row, this is our last row that we will do on her. It's the closest to the part. It's the closest to that cowlick in the back. I'm going to do all ultimates on top. Because that way, if her hair blows in the wind, if it moves at all, I am minimizing any chance that anyone could see those tape tabs. Still focusing on my A-OK, don't ever lose that form. That's going to help prevent you from getting it too tight. Too tight, if you remember, causes scalp irritation, can definitely be itchy. Clients most likely will notice some itch. That is also just because of new weight in their hair. This is adding extra hair. So inevitably, that's new weight. So that's not uncommon. It's when it doesn't let up. Okay, so like I said, this whole top row, we are doing the ultimates right on top. Once I'm confident, I'm going to squish that down. Now, because that's our kind of first row, I'm going to ping pong to the other side. Now this side is her dominant hair side. Since her part's on her other side, she's pretty thick on this side. So I'm not as worried about these showing. Nonetheless, because she is that soccer player and she likes to wear that ponytail, we are still going to keep going with those ultimates on top. Still going to do those. I'm going to do 3 micros right in the front here. Putting them right next to each other. These little guys are really nice because they move so easily. So they're comfortable, they're really nice. I've got a couple clients I do balayage on, and we pop in these micros. Oh, I'm not on the camera. We pop in these micros around her hairline with a little bit more blondes, just to help give that pop. So it's really nice. One of the gals I was chatting with actually put them in one of her clients' bangs. Thought that was a really great idea. Okay, drop it down just a smidge. We're going to roll that on. Match up those tape tabs. Okay, we are on to our original on the bottom and ultimate on top. So I'm going to place this one right on the bottom, drop it down just a smidge, again, just so you can see those hair follicles. Roll that on. Grab that ultimate, put it on top, making sure still we're matching up those corners. Once you're confident in that, press that down. We're going to keep going on. Now we're going to connect those 2 rows. I'm still going to continue doing those ultimates all through the top here. Again, just to reiterate, she has that that cowlick right on top that I'm a little concerned might show. So that's why I really want those ultimates on top. Really still making sure your sections are clean. Okay, still making sure that the width is not too thick. Again, still using that remote technique. I'm going to drop it down just so I see the top of that hair follicle. Swipe those sides. Okay. Now with the placement, it looks like we'll have room for just one more. Roll it up, again using that pinky to roll down that hair, swiping those corners. Matching it all up and placing it. Okay. We have a full set of extensions in Zoe now. All right, so what I'm going to do is talk about cutting and blending. Now, unfortunately, we're working right now on a carpet, so I'm not going to be actually cutting out of respect for the carpet, but we will talk through it all. Now, what you want to do with your client is, especially in the front, you're going to take this first front section, and to help blend it, you're going to direct it forward and see where the extension is. And once you can see that extension, you're going to shake, let all of her natural hair fall out, and then you're just going to slither cut down those ends to blend. Going to your next section, same thing, you're going to drag it just slightly forward, see where those extensions are, shake, letting her natural hair fall out. We are not wanting to cut her natural hair, we're just wanting to blend slightly those extensions. Now, if you notice as well, I'm really only focusing on that top, maybe 2 layers of extensions. I'm not cutting into that perimeter line where we've just added that new base. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, over directing it forward, shaking out her natural hair. Once her natural hair's fallen out, my fingers are now where that natural hair started falling out, and I'm gonna slither slightly down, starting at my fingers. Going into that next section, same thing. Shake out that natural hair and slither down. Okay, so the removal. Once you're comfortable with the haircut and the blending process, I personally like to go minimal. They've just bought this hair, they've just paid for it. I don't want to overcut, so go very cautiously. Oops. Now on the removal. So when your client comes back in about 8 to 10 weeks, maybe a little less if they have fine, thin hair, what you're going to do is Hotheads has designed our removal tab. It is laid out exactly how you're supposed to do it. Row 5, bottom, row 5, top. So you're gonna start on the top of the head, working your way down. The top pieces are gonna go right here, starting with the top piece. You're gonna put that right here where it says row 5 top. The bottom piece from that same sandwich is gonna go on row 5 bottom. So then when you retape them and get them ready for her next application, there's no guesswork. We're not recutting to blend when, for example, I have a client, we do an A-line. If I don't put those back in the right spot, those long pieces are gonna be in the back, the short pieces are gonna be up front, we are now gonna have a mullet. So I have to be very meticulous and really follow this tape tab board. So I'm gonna remove just the first couple so you can get the gist of it. Okay, so again, because this is 99.9% remove solvent, or alcohol, excuse me, in the remove solvent, 1 squirt is all you need. Let that seep down into the tape tabs using your fingers to slightly pick, and your first extension will come out. Now these are my micros. So as I mentioned earlier, I don't necessarily reuse my micros. So I'm gonna actually show you one of my ultimates and my originals. So I'm going to spray. I'm gonna get that tape off. So this is my top piece. I'm putting it right where it says row 5 top. I'm gonna go back in, remove this second one, put it right on top of that where it says row 5 bottom. Just like this. So when I go back in and I'm gonna retape these, I know exactly where they go, in what order. And I'm gonna do the same as I do in the hair. I'm going to snake back and forth. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more and then I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna show you how to retape. So this solvent, if used properly, is designed to dry within 10 minutes, which is perfect because I'm gonna put it all on my board, let that dry. I'm gonna take my client back to the shampoo bowl, give her a really nice scalp massage while I'm using our Deep Clean Intense shampoo. I'm gonna shampoo her probably 2-3 times. Again, she's had extensions on her head for a while. This is gonna feel really good to get in and get a good scrape all along that scalp. I'm gonna come back, I'm going to blow dry her. At that point, these should be dry, and then I'm gonna be able to retape. If they are not dry, a little tip that you can do is take a cold blast. Again, we don't need heat on these. Take a cold blast from your blow dryer and just hit them with a little bit of wind, and they should dry right away. So with the tape tabs, you do not need to remove any excess tape. These are fine building up. They've been designed for that. Again, Hotheads has all stylist needs in mind. So we're going to remove our first extension. We're going to match the rounded corners with rounded corners from our tape tabs. I'm going to peel it right off meticulously match up those corners, slowly roll it down, and press it on. We have a new tape tab. We're ready to go. Real quick, now in prepping your client to retape, we definitely want to do the same exact process as we did when we initially applied. We shampooed with the deep intensive shampoo. We blow dry. We added no extra product. We didn't add anything else. Once she was dry, I then flat ironed her, and then I sectioned her and got her ready for the application process. And then at that point, we will retape as I'm applying. That way I'm putting the right ones back in the right exact places. I can't thank you guys enough for being here with me today. This has been so awesome. You've had phenomenal questions. I'm ecstatic about what's about to be added into your services. I would love for you to please take my Instagram, take my Facebook, email me, contact me, tag me, whatever you would like to do. I'd love to see your work. I'd love to see how you're doing. I'd love to hear your client reactions. It's just really awesome to give feedback. I'd love to see what mixes you're coming up with. So please, 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 please keep me in the loop. I'm just so excited for you guys, and I can't thank you enough for joining me today, and hopefully seeing you at one of our advanced classes, either the 360 creative color and or the corrective cutting class. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I will be up at the front.